You're the most famous.
Did I cause 137,000 cases?
You're the most famous vaccine skeptic on the planet.
He was lying, and you were punishing people for not trusting the experts. And now you're rolling out the experts again to talk about something that you have no personal knowledge of.
Okay, absolutely.
You were scaring people.
Why are you saying that?
Because.
Are you willing to say to parents who have not vaccinated their kids that they should vaccinate their kids for measles because it is safe and it will help them save their children's lives?
We tell
HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy gives an interview to State of the Union's Dana Bash. In this interview, he cites lies, misinformation, personally attacks Dana, calling her a liar, saying she's saying misinformation, even going as far as to say she's responsible for the deaths of Americans during COVID. He takes no responsibility for anything, gives Trump no responsibility for anything. He has no accountability. He's a liar and he's dumb. This is one of the most contentious interviews I've ever seen on CNN. Take a look.
I've been placing nearly all the blame on the COVID pandemic and the way that the U.S. responded to it squarely with Dr. Fauci. But of course, he worked for President Trump. Does President Trump also deserve some of the blame?
Well, President Trump, as you recall, wanted to end the lockdowns. I think the thing that did the most damage to our country was the lockdowns that shut down 3.5 million businesses in our country with no due process, no just compensation. All of our churches closed our schools, and our children are still paying the price.
This guy, 2 seconds into the interview, already misinformation. They did shut down closing schools and businesses, but they gave out a shit ton of money, an incredible amount of money. That was a huge wealth transfer that happened during COVID. Lie already.
Thanks for that. And yet we had the worst outcome of any country in the world.
Also not true. That is a ridiculous thing to say. We had one of the best outcomes. It was like mid. It was mid outcome.
How so?
We had the highest death rate from COVID of any nation on earth.
Well, let me just say, because I've heard you say that before on the death rate from COVID, that's not accurate because public health experts say that there is a combination of factors that went into that: higher rates of chronic illnesses, which I know you would agree with, gaps to our healthcare system, and misinformation about vaccines.
You just said what I said was inaccurate. What I said was accurate. We had the highest death rate from COVID of any
well, there are other countries that had higher, but
you can argue
go ahead
about why we had that, but nobody can tell you. I mean, we have, as you say, we have the highest chronic disease burden in the world. But Anthony Fauci was mismanaging the COVID pandemic, and he was doing it under the Biden administration. President Trump wanted to end the lockdowns. And in fact, in Anthony Fauci's diaries.
Then why didn't he end the lockdowns? RFK.
He talks about how President Trump is calling him every day, trying to get him to reopen the country.
Yeah, well, the lockdowns were done by governors. I mean, certainly Anthony Fauci and the president had opinions, but the lockdowns were done by governors, and largely because they were hearing from hospitals saying that their ICUs were overrun and they needed some help while that was happening.
Well, that's not true. That's just not true. What you're saying is not true. No, they were doing it because Anthony Fauci was telling them from the top, you need to lock down. There were ICUs that were empty all over the country, including in New York at the height.
I'm asking you, I'm going to go back.
There were literally hospitals that had to use freezer trucks to keep the dead bodies. Why is he like blatantly lying right now?
What I asked you at the beginning, which is President Trump, and he was the guy in charge. And you tweeted back in 2024 that he let bureaucrats like Anthony Fauci shut down the entire country. Again, the president was in charge.
The president was trying to reopen the country when he left. The country was kept closed for another year, almost a year and a half after that.
Also not true.
Let's talk about how to prevent the next pandemic, because there's a lot of litigating and relitigated.
Yeah, I just don't understand how Trump gets he doesn't have any responsibility for this at all. He created the vaccine that you guys all say killed a bunch of people. Like, he was in charge when the lockdowns happened. He allowed the lockdowns to happen. Like, I don't understand how Trump has no agency in this. That's fucking crazy.
That I don't think is really helpful to do with regard to COVID. And the question.
But that is, Dana Bash is right now. Like, relitigating the COVID lockdowns and all that shit. I mean, we needed weigh out whether the lockdowns work or not. But what are we going to do when the next pandemic happens? No one is going to listen to anything. It is going to be a fucking disaster because of all of our, rights and freedom of speech and all that shit. The next pandemic happens, if it happens in the next 20 years, maybe we'll forget after 20 years, but if it happens before that, a lot of people are going to die because they're not going to listen to the science.
Is about so-called gain of function, which for people who aren't entirely clear about it, it is a highly risky research process that includes manipulating a virus to study how it behaves as it evolves. Now, what scientists say is that although it's controversial, it's necessary to prepare for the next pandemic, to get ahead of it, to figure out what these viruses can do. You want to end this gain of function research. Some scientists say, isn't it better just to put better guardrails around it?
People have been trying to put guardrails around it for generations, and it hasn't worked. And clearly, COVID-19.
We've been doing this shit we've been funding gain of function research for generations. Come on, dude.
Pandemic and many other global pandemics that we have come from gain of function research. The RSV epidemic that we have, that is the biggest killer of kids in this country today, came from these kind of experiments. The Lyme disease almost certainly came from this kind of research. So, and the scientists who you say are experts are making the argument that this is necessary for pandemic response, cannot point to one instance in history where research that came out of this kind of experimentation has actually provided us something beneficial.
So how do you prepare then? How do you prepare for the next?
I gotta fact check because RFK said the leading cause of children is RSV. It's fucking firearm deaths. Holy shit.
Pandemic. I mean, that's literally part of your job now because experts think it's going to happen within the next 10 years again.
Yeah, I mean, I think we did virtually everything wrong the last time.
So what about now?
The principal thing that we need to do is we need to listen to what's happening to doctors on the ground. There are 15 million frontline physicians around the world. They're mainly now connected through the internet. We can tell on the front lines what's working and what's not. If we had listened to those doctors during the COVID pandemic, we would have saved potentially millions of lives. There were therapeutics out there that were working. There were doctors that were having no deaths from COVID and treating, in some cases, thousands of patients. And we weren't
fake news, misinformation. That's all a fucking lie.
Listening to them. Instead, we were doing the opposite. We were shutting them down. And then, Dana, the other thing that I would say is that we need to protect our constitutional rights. That is the primary obligation.
What does that mean?
Dana Bash asked, what are we going to do? What have we learned for the next pandemic? And all he's saying is, hey, all he's saying is what we did wrong and that we need to protect our constitutional rights. He's not saying anything about the next pandemic. You want to know why? Because he has no plan. There is no plan. All there is just a talk shit on the people that were in power before us.
Well, during COVID, we completely dismantled our constitutional rights. We began censoring people in violation of the First Amendment.
But you're saying what not to do. I'm asking what to do. But I want to talk about.
That's something to do. That is the number one priority. We protect the Constitution. The Constitution was written.
Forgive me, but you're talking about rights, and I'm asking about a potential public health crisis that is coming. But I do want to
And one of the mistakes we made in the last time was suppressing those rights so people weren't being heard. The doctors who were saying you're doing it wrong were being marginalized and vilified.
Yeah,
and
because again, I really want to move on. But
yeah,
you were saying
yes, I do. Part of the problem.
No, I wasn't part of the problem.
There was absolute press malpractice. You weren't allowing your
Mr.
job.
Secretary,
your job is a fear skepticism toward authority, and you weren't doing that. You were beating up on people.
My job is all.
CNN, MSNBC, they were whatever the advice, whatever Fauci said, whatever the Trump said, whatever the doctor said, whatever the hospital said, they just repeated it as news, man. The only news station that was definitely throwing out fake news, misinformation was Fox News. Fox News was the one saying, hey, don't take the vaccine, it'll kill you. Hey, no one's dying in hospitals. Like Fox News was lying about it, what CNN was trying to tell the fucking truth and help people out. What RFK is saying right here is a lie.
We're dissenting.
No.
Or is it even a lie if he thinks it's true because he has a bunch of brainworms and he's an idiot? Like, I'm not sure. Either he's lying or he's a fucking idiot.
Okay, you want to sit here and attack me, or do you want to have conversations about public health? I'm not attacking you. I'm asking questions.
You're gonna sit here and attack me? It's good to see, a mainstream media anchor, pushing back on the Trump administration and their absolute ridiculousness.
About how to prevent the next pandemic.
Question, and I'll tell you.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Embarrassing.
But I also
Pathetic.
don't want to use this interview to allow you to say things that aren't entirely true. You're talking about therapeutics, fine. It is also factually true that the COVID vaccine worked. The COVID vaccine prevented deaths. There is data upon data upon data. Let's talk about
And Trump made it.
the measles, please, because this is something that is happening as we speak. The
You think
cases
the
in the
COVID
U.S.
vaccine protected children?
Yes.
I think that what I have talked to scientists and doctors
Talk to
about.
scientists. Can you show me one study
Yes, I can.
that shows that
I can.
children were protected by the COVID vaccine?
Yes,
I can
there's
tell you that
tons of
there are-
studies,
Vaccine did
dude.
more good than harm to children. Can you
There's no real study that says that the COVID vaccine was harmful to children. That is not true.
show me one study that shows that?
I can tell you that when it comes to the vaccine, there have been studies that show that because of vaccine
What study?
disinformation, there could have been 100 to 200,000 lives in the U.S. saved. But because people didn't get the vaccine, that's why. I'm not saying that it entirely.
You
Let
are
me finish.
saying
Let me finish.
nonsense. You are saying something that you cannot show me
Okay.
a single study.
I am
that
not
says
saying
that.
nonsense.
You
I
are
am
talking what
Excuse
somebody
me.
told you.
Excuse me.
And you
Let me
cite me the study.
What
study?
No, what
Cite
studies
me
are
the-
you?
RFK Jr. always does that. In the middle of an interview, he'll be like, no, show me the study right now. And then he'll want to like break down the study, like point to point, like who was in the control group, who did this, who did that, even though he knows nothing about studies. But that's one of his debate tactics is be like, show me the study. We're going to do the study right now. RFK is just all vibes. Everything he says is just all vibes. Like there's plenty of studies. We've all seen the studies showing that the COVID vaccine worked. Like we can see the numbers, we see the studies. Everybody knows that the COVID vaccine saved lives. And this idiot, the guy in charge of health in the US, thinks that the COVID vaccine hurt more people than it saved. That's crazy. That's insane. That's an insane position to take from a the person in charge of health in the entire country. Good Lord.
You're talking about studies that actually don't exist. I want to talk about.
Cite me the
I am
study
not-
that you're talking about.
I am
you
not
say
here
you've
to
seen
defend-
studies. Cite me the study.
This is not productive. I am not here to defend all of the. Let me
You're
finish.
talking nonsense.
Let
You're
me
making
finish.
assertions you can't support, and then when I call you on them, you're telling me that I'm arguing.
Okay,
with
do you want to talk about assertions that you can't support? I'll get there in a second. Let me just say, for the record, that I am not saying
That's exciting.
that the entire way that the COVID reaction was accurate. It was a scary time, and people made mistakes. Absolutely.
You
Let me
were
finish.
scaring people
Why are you saying that?
because that was the job of CNN.
Okay.
Was to
okay,
put the
stop.
chyrons up
Okay,
about how
stop.
many people are
We were
dying.
trying to
To
be.
get people
We were
to
listening
comply.
to the leaders in this country, including the president, who had a daily press conference explaining what was going on and trying to listen.
Were you listening?
I want to
the
talk to
scientists,
measles.
Actually, were you reading the
The
science yourself?
measles cases in the U.S. just reached a 35-year high. The second record-breaking year in a row. 93% of these cases are among the unvaccinated. The outbreak is happening on your watch. And even before becoming HHS secretary, for years, you have been one of the leading voices questioning the efficacy of vaccines.
True.
Do you accept?
Let's just put the two together. We have a guy in charge of public health that doesn't believe in vaccines, and now we have the biggest rise in measles in U.S. history. Are the two correlated? If you don't think they are, you're not thinking clearly.
Some responsibility for this measles outbreak?
Absolutely not. First of all, this is an international outbreak. So, and we're doing better at handling it than any country in the world. Mexico has 15 times the amount of measles per capita that we have.
That's a third world country. We are not Mexico. Do not compare our measles response to Mexico's.
Canada has 4 times the amount of measles. England has 2 times the amount of measles. Did I cause those measles outbreaks?
You're the most famous.
Did I cause
maybe?
137,000 cases?
You're the
of
most
measles in
famous
Europe?
vaccine skeptic on the planet.
Let me tell you, because actually Anthony Fauci in his diaries answers the question about why we're having a measles outbreak right now. The reason we're having a measles outbreak because of the COVID lockdowns, because people didn't, like children during that period, did not get vaccinated. And in his diaries, he says this is going to cause massive outbreaks of measles, and more children, he says this, are going to die. Let me finish, because you could accuse me of something.
Right.
Now, let me.
No, I didn't. I asked you a question.
Yeah, let me give you the answer. He says in his diaries, more children are going to die from measles because of these lockdowns than COVID. So if you
More people will die from because of measles from the COVID lockdown than COVID itself. That hurt my brain. What the hell was that?
want to know, and that age group that should have gotten the MMR when they were 18 months and didn't get it, they're the ones being infected. The people in this country, and we have stopped the outbreaks at record speed. And
Why didn't they get the vaccine, dude? What are you...
Carolina and Texas and Utah.
Oh, he's suggesting that they didn't get the measles vaccine because they were locked down. That's what he's suggesting. Wow.
In Virginia. We've done better than any country in the world. I dispatch immediately the epidemic intelligence services to those states. I get on the phone with the governor and we stop them in their tracks. Nobody else has been able to do that.
You have a bully pulpit.
Let me tell you just one last thing.
Go ahead.
The communities that are suffering from measles are almost all religious communities that just don't vaccinate. The Mennonites have not vaccinated since 1796, since Edward Jenner invented the smallpox vaccine. It's hard to blame that on me, as much as you want to blame it.
Well, why don't you go get them to take the vaccine then?
I want to blame you. I'm asking you because you have a very powerful voice on these issues for people who are skeptical. Let me finish. Let me finish.
And I've never questioned the efficacy of the MMR vaccine.
Okay.
Are you sure about that, RFK? Are you sure about that, bud? Come on, dude.
Let me finish.
What
I want you to do is please use your bully pulpit to right now, as we're getting close to back to school, are you willing to say to parents who have not vaccinated their kids that they should vaccinate their kids for measles because it is safe and it will help them save their children's lives?
We tell people.
Hold on, before he answers, a 0% chance that he just says that. 0%.
On my websites, my public
right now,
I'll
look
say
into the
right
camera.
now that parents should get their children vaccinated for measles. A measles vaccine is effective. It stops measles in about 97% of the cases. Well, people
Is it safe?
Get vaccinated.
Can I ask you, the Wall Street Journal reported that the president
Man, you
is
should ask
pressuring
him
you
that.
to conduct studies probing the link between vaccines and autism. Is that true?
Did you say probing the link?
I'm just quoting the Wall Street Journal, that the president wants you to go further to probe the link between autism and vaccines.
He certainly does.
Okay. Now, have you talked to him about medical research that have studied this for 25 years and found no link between autism and vaccines? And just this is my question here, because I don't want to litigate that. My question is, why not, because you are HHS secretary now, why not study what could cause autism, which scientists do believe starts with fetal brain development? Why not do some studies on that, whether you're an environmental lawyer, whether there are environmental factors that go into contributing to a predisposed genetic situation?
Well, let me say this first. We're doing all those things. And that's one of the ways that we found Tylenol. There's 73 studies out there and linked Tylenol exposure during later pregnancy and during the perinatal period to autism onset.
There is not one study. There is not one study linking Tylenol to autism. That study does not exist.
But you are wrong when you say that this issue has been studied. It has been studied, and you're rolling your eyes. But
I am, because I don't want to have you use our air to say this. There have been more than 40 studies involving 5.6 million people to conclude there is no link between vaccines and autism. This is the head of the Committee of Infectious Diseases for the American Academy of Pediatrics.
And now let me tell you what the Institute of Medicine says, which is the National Academy of Sciences, which is the ultimate arbiter on vaccine safety, and which it does not have an interest in this debate. It says that none of the 8 vaccines that are administered during the first 6 months of life have ever been studied for relationship to autism. It found 2 studies, one on the DTP vaccine that showed that it does cause autism, and one on the hepatitis B vaccine that again suggests that it does cause autism. The Institute of Medicine dismissed those 2 studies because they were based on CDC's database. The studies that you're referring to are all for one vaccine, the MMR vaccine, or one ingredient, thimerosal.
So you are actually looking at, you're starting new studies to try to link autism, but you're also telling me...
I'm not trying to link autism to anything. I'm trying to find out Why is autism?
Are you also trying to find out how it interacts with people's DNA, what's predisposed to have an autistic child? Are you doing both?
Yeah, but Dana, you probably don't understand this
He's not. They're probably not studying anything. Let's be fucking real here.
because you're not a scientist. But genes
Well, you're not
don't
either.
cause, genes
He's also not a doctor.
don't cause epidemics.
I understand. Genes,
They can provide a
epidemics.
vulnerability.
A
but you
gene
need
provides
environmental
That's
exposure.
what I'm asking. Are you studying the
We're
environmental
looking at
exposure?
all the different environmental exposures, but your statement, you have been fooled. Your statement that this has been studied is not true. It's categorically
It is
not true.
considered.
Not for any of this stuff.
It is considered.
Considered by
decided
who?
by every scientist who has studied this.
That is not true. I can
is
give you
true.
hundreds of scientists who have looked at this.
So
and
on the
say,
one
why
hand,
isn't
do you understand why
It's the
people aren't
National
getting?
Academy of Sciences. What greater authority
Do you
have than
understand
that?
why people are not getting measles vaccines? Because they're hearing you say that it could
You're
cause
trying to
autism.
change the subject.
I'm not. It's very much
Yeah, you are.
related.
Show me one of the studies that's been done on the first 8 the vaccines during the first 6 months of life. You will not find them. The national.
No, you show the study that shows that these things cause autism. You're making the positive claim. You have to show the study, dude, and you haven't showed any studies.
National Academy of Sciences.
So if that's the case, then why are you telling people to get the measles vaccine?
Because that is one of the vaccines that has been studied.
Okay.
It's the only one that has been studied.
Do you want people to get the?
How convenient. The vaccine that we need to take right now to stop this measles epidemic is the only one that's safe. The one that makes you look better as HH secretary is the only one that's safe. Get the fuck out of here, dude. He's a liar and he's an idiot. Both combined make for a very dangerous HHS secretary.
The MMR vaccine.
Yeah, I said that already.
Okay, so
I know you're flustered now, and it is.
I'm not frustrated at all.
because
I am
people have not
frustrated.
been honest
The
with
reason
you.
I'm frustrated is because
you repeat
you
things
are
saying
the
the experts say
HHS.
yes.
You are the HHS secretary, and you are talking about things that lead to vaccine hesitancy in this country, and it is something that causes problems for people
Let me
when
ask
there
you-
is not anything.
Let me ask you something. Do you see your job as ending vaccine hesitancy, or do you see your job as telling the truth to the American people?
I see my job as telling the truth, and the truth is that there is study after study after study. It's one of the most studied things out there in science,
You're repeating
and it
it
is
like a parrot. You're repeating
So are
it
you.
like a parrot.
So are
I've
you.
actually read the science. Let's you and
don't
I
wanna-
come
you don't
back
wanna-
here and debate the
So
science.
I'm not debating this with you.
Of course you won't.
No,
You
because
just-
I'm not
all you
debating
know how to
false-
do is repeat things that people told you and say, trust the experts. That's what you do.
What the fuck is, what are you doing, dude? What kind of an argument is that? This is one of the most infuriating interviews I've ever seen. The fact that this guy is getting paid his salary out of our tax dollars to lie and just do this shit that he's doing. Oh my God.
During COVID.
I'm like sweating.
Now we know that Anthony Fauci, who was the expert, was lying about everything.
No,
about
we don't.
masks, about
We
social
don't know
distancing,
that.
About natural immunity, about the transmission from the vaccine, about the source of COVID. He was lying, and you were punishing people for not trusting the experts. And now you're rolling out the experts again
Yes.
to talk about something that you have no personal knowledge of.
Okay, well, guess what? That is my job, to talk to people.
Your job is to
Am I
tell the
allowed to
truth
talk?
to the American
yes,
public.
yes. And my job
And
is
to
to
be-
get as
and
much
to-
information as I
and to
can. And what we
maintain
were doing,
a posture
what we were
of
doing,
fierce skepticism
what we
toward
were
government
doing
authority.
in COVID and still, with regard to these vaccines, is getting the best information, the best science that we can, and putting it out there. And sir, what you are doing is causing
getting the best
information
science
to be
from
out there that
somebody
is
who's lying
not
to you.
accurate.
Who was lying to
The
you?
National Academy of Sciences, which you just cited in November, said we support the statement that vaccines do not cause autism. This is the National Academy of Sciences that you just talked about.
Look at the National Academy of Science most recent report.
Okay.
And you'll see.
I want to ask you one other question, because
Good Lord, he gets caught. He gets caught in real time lying about a thing. And then she cites his own source. And no, they were wrong. And holy shit, I just noticed this right now. He is crashing out. RFK Jr. is crashing out so hard that he spilled his coffee, dude. Look at this. Oh man. Oh man. Let me get a quick screenshot of that there, bud. Nah, not doing that right. Hold on. Oh, brutal. This has been quite the fucking interview, to say the least. Oh wow. All right. How do you move forward with the conversation after that last like exchange? Like that was crazy. Ooh. All right, it's reaction time of the video. What am I supposed to say to that? RFK Jr. going on there and lying, handing out misinformation, being a total piece of shit to the interviewer. Like that was pathetic. That is a public health official, you know, a member of the Kennedy family, just giving one of the most embarrassing interviews I've ever seen in my life. Like he wouldn't answer questions directly. He called Dana Bash a liar, attacked her personally. I've never seen an official do that on CNN like that. That was something. And it's one thing that I'm just confused on is RFK Jr. just purposely lying about things, or is his brain that far gone? I mean, the heroin addiction, the brain worms, working out in jeans, messing around with Kid Rock sexually. Like all those things are going to mess with your brain. But and we don't really know, like RFK Jr. like they've done some things on food processing and dye colors that kill you from food, but other than that, like I don't think HHS has done anything of substance other than, you know, say that vaccines cause autism and Tylenol causes autism. This thing that's not bad for you is bad for you, and then only to turn around and you know, take back that statement, you know, a few months later. So at this point, I don't think HHS is doing much of anything really. And if this guy's at the head of it, who is either lying or just patently wrong about everything, this country is in deep shit. What if we have a pandemic? What if we have something going on? Oh wait, we do have things going on. Screwworm is out of control. Measles is out of control. We have lettuce giving people diarrhea. Like what? Like this, it's not going well right now. Nothing, no metric is going well. Health isn't going well. The economy is not going well. It's all going pretty bad. But this is just more the case that we just, this MAGA administration is not serious. RFK Jr. is not a serious person. This person almost certainly belongs in prison from who knows what he did. But he's probably belongs in prison from what he's doing in the White House right now. There's pretty much zero transparency in this White House. So it's kind of hard to tell exactly what's going on. But given that Trump has, you know, made over $2 billion in a year and a half just as president, which it's probably more than that, let's be real. You'd have to assume that RFK is doing the same. So we're going to keep an eye on that. I'm going to assume that RFK is committing crimes as well. And we're going to keep an eye on that. And when I find those, I will bring them to you. And if you guys want to see that, like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.